I died choking on my own blood, the taste of betrayal metallic and thick in my throat, as Derek's hands, those same hands that had slipped a ring on my finger just 6 months before, pressed the pillow down harder, his whisper hot against my ear. "This is for us, Peyton, for the life we deserve." The last thing I saw was the glint of my wedding band in the moonlight, mocking me from the nightstand, before everything went black. And then, like a glitch in the universe's cruel code, I woke up gasping in my old twin bed, the faded poster of Nirvana peeling from the wall of my childhood bedroom in suburban Chicago, the alarm clock screaming 7 a.m. on the morning of my 25th birthday, 3 years before that godforsaken wedding day. My heart hammered like a freight train, every nerve ending alive with the ghost of that suffocation, and I knew this wasn't a dream. I'd been given a do-over, a second shot at clawing my way out of the grave they'd dug for me. The house smelled the same, stale coffee and Mom's lavender perfume clinging to the air like a bad habit. I stumbled downstairs in my ratty flannel pajamas, the ones I'd worn through college hangovers, my bare feet slapping against the cold hardwood. Mom was at the kitchen island, scrolling through her iPad with that vacant smile she reserved for real estate listings and PDA emails, her blonde highlights catching the morning sun filtering through the blinds. "Morning, birthday girl," she chirped without looking up, sipping her green smoothie like nothing in the world had ever cracked her perfect facade. "Big plans today? Derek texted me last night. Said he's got a surprise for you after work." My stomach twisted into knots at his name, while rising like the echo of that pillow. Derek Hale, the golden boy from the investment firm downtown, the one who'd swept into my life at a rooftop bar in Wrigleyville with his easy grin and promises of forever. The one who'd fuck me over for a corner office and a piece of my family's crumbling real estate empire. I gripped the edge of the counter, knuckles white, staring at her like she was a stranger, which, in this reset timeline, she might as well have been. Because in the life I'd just clawed back from, Mom hadn't just stood by while Derek plotted my end. She'd handed him the goddamn shovel. It started small, the way these things do in America's heartland. Whispers over wine about how my artistic phase, my freelance graphic design gigs, wasn't cutting it, how I needed stability, a man like Derek to anchor me. But it unraveled into something uglier. Dad's old construction business, buried under debts from the '08 crash, sitting on a prime plot near the loop that developers were salivating over. Derek had sniffed it out early, whining and dining Mom at charity galas, feeding her lines about legacy and security. By the time I said, "I do," she'd signed over power of attorney, convinced it was for my own good. And when I started asking questions, why the sudden audits, why the shady LLCs popping up in the paperwork, Derek had played the hero, while Mom played the enabler. Until the night he smothered me in our Gold Coast condo, claiming it was an overdose to the cops. And Mom? She testified at the inquest, tears streaming, swearing I'd been unstable lately, that the ring was my idea of escape. They got away with it. My body in a plot at Rose Hill Cemetery, my legacy a footnote in the obits. Beloved daughter, gone too soon. "Happy birthday to me," I muttered, forcing a laugh that sounded like shattered glass. Mom glanced up then, her Botox-smooth forehead furrowing just a fraction, the most emotion she'd shown in years. "Peyton, honey, you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." If only she knew. I poured myself coffee with shaking hands, the steam rising like smoke from a fresh wound, and slid onto the stool across from her. The kitchen clock ticked like a bomb, each second pulling me deeper into this second chance. I could taste the freedom, sharp and electric, but laced with the rot of what was to come if I didn't rewrite it all. Derek was already circling, his text a prelude to the trap. "Can't wait to see you tonight." Wear that red dress. In my old life, I had. Tonight, I'd burn it. The day blurred into a fever dream of reconnaissance. I called in sick to my dead-end job at the ad agency. Fuck the freelance facade. In this loop, I wasn't playing small anymore. First stop, the public library in Evanston, where the microfiche machines hummed like forgotten relics. Hours poring over property records, cross-referencing Dad's old deeds with the shell companies Derek's firm had birthed. There it was, buried in a 2022 filing. Hale Investments as silent partner in Windy City Holdings, the entity that would swallow our land after my tragic passing. Mom's signature, elegant loops and all, authorizing the transfer. My blood boiled hotter than the radiator clanking in the corner. She'd sold me out for a cut of the profits, enough to fund her Botox empire and that McMansion dream in Naperville. And Derek? He'd orchestrated it from the shadows, charming her with golf outings and whispers of family first, all while plotting to eliminate the one loose end me. By afternoon, I was tailing him from his loop office, heart pounding as I hunkered down in a rented Chevy from Enterprise. Cash only, no trace. He was the picture of WASP perfection. Crisp Brooks Brothers suit, Ray-Bans perched on his all-American jawline, striding into Morton's Steakhouse like he owned the joint. And there she was, waiting at the bar. Vanessa, his colleague from the firm, all legs and Louboutins, the same viper who'd discovered my body that morning in the condo, her crocodile tears fooling the paramedics. They clinked glasses, his hand lingering on her thigh under the tablecloth, and I snapped photos from the shadows with my phone, the shutter sound silenced but echoing in my skull. Evidence. The first brick in the wall I'd build around their throats. That night, I ghosted Derek's surprise, a candlelit dinner at RPM Italian, no doubt, and showed up at home instead, red dress balled up in the fireplace, flames devouring the silk like my rage devoured reason. Mom breezed in from her yoga class, Lululemon still clinging to her like armor, and froze in the doorway, the acrid smoke curling toward the ceiling. Peyton? What in God's name? I turned, eyes locked on hers, the poker-eyed grabbed from the mantel glinting in the firelight. Not to swing, not yet, but as a promise. Mom, I said, voice steady as steel. When's it my turn to marry? You keep asking. She blinked, caught off guard, that maternal script kicking in. Oh, honey, with Derek things seem so. It already happened. I cut in, the words dropping like grenades. Her smoothie glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the tile in a spray of green pulp and shards. She froze, just like that. Lips parted, eyes glazing over with the dawning horror of recognition she couldn't place. Because in her tidy little world, I'd never told her the truth, that the wedding vows were laced with arsenic, that her perfect match, for me, was a predator in penny loafers. I stepped closer, the heat from the fire licking my skin, and whispered, "And you were there, Mom. You watched it all burn." She didn't move for what felt like eternity, the only sound the crackle of fabric turning to ash. Then, like a dam breaking, the questions tumbled out, halting, laced with that Midwestern politeness masking panic. What are you talking about? Peyton, you're scaring me. Did something happen with Derek? I laughed, low and bitter, the sound foreign even to me. In my old life, I'd have crumbled, soothed her with lies to keep the peace. Not this time. This time, I was the storm. Sit down, Mom. It's story time. And as she sank into the armchair, pale as the ghosts haunting me, I began unraveling the threads, starting with Dad's deathbed confession I'd buried deep. The accident, on the site that wasn't an accident at all, but a cover for embezzlement Derek's mentor had pinned on him to seize the company. Mom's face crumpled, denials bubbling up like bad champagne. But I had the receipts now, printed from the library, spread across the coffee table like a crime scene. You knew. I pressed, voice cracking for the first time. You signed the papers. For what? A new Volvo? Security? She sobbed then, real tears streaking her foundation, but I felt no pity, only the cold calculus of survival. This was America, after all, land of second chances if you had the guts to steal them back. By midnight, the house was a war zone of whispers and wreckage. Mom confessed in fits and starts how Derek had isolated her after Dad's fall, promising to protect the family legacy if she'd just look the other way. The land deal was his idea, a win-win, he'd said, but when I started digging post-honeymoon, sniffing too close to the truth, he'd turned on me. And her? Complicit by silence, too scared of losing the illusion of control. I thought it would make you happy, she whimpered, clutching a throw pillow like a shield. Happy. The word tasted like the blood in my lungs that final night. I left her there, curled on the couch, and slipped out into the rain-slicked streets, the city lights blurring into neon vengeance. My phone buzzed. Derek, frantic. Where are you? Mom said you're acting weird. I typed back, fingers flying. Meet me at the condo. We need to talk marriage. Bait taken. Hook set. The drive to the Gold Coast was a blur of wipers slapping rhythm and old Springsteen on the radio, born to run, mocking my trapped soul. The condo loomed like a tombstone, sleek glass and steel, overlooking Lake Michigan's black churn. I'd leased it in my first life as our love nest, but tonight it was my coliseum. Derek arrived 20 minutes later, umbrella furled, that boyish smile faltering when he saw me waiting in the lobby, drenched and defiant. "Hey, babe, what's going on?" "Your mom called, said you flipped out." I grabbed his arm, nails digging crescents, and yanked him toward the elevator. Upstairs. Now, the ride was silent, the mirrored walls reflecting a stranger, wild-eyed Peyton, not the pliable girl he'd molded. Inside, the place was a shrine to our fabricated bliss. Champagne flutes from last week's engagement party, photos of us grinning at the Art Institute. I locked the door behind us, the click echoing like a chambered round. "Sit," I commanded, nodding to the leather sectional. He did, wary now, loosening his tie. "Talk to me. Is this about the ring? I know it's fast, but fast." I echoed, pacing like a caged panther. "You mean the part where you suffocate me for a land deal? Or the part where you frame my dad's death to steal it all?" His face drained of color, eyes darting to the door. Denial first, scripted and smooth. "Jesus, hey, have you been drinking? That's not funny." But I was done with funny. I pulled out my phone, the photos of him and Vanessa glowing like indictments, followed by the property docs, emailed to myself from the library. "Explain this, then. Or should I call the cops? Tell them about the pillow you practiced with on that trip to the cabin." He lunged then, not for the phone, but for me, hands outstretched in what could pass for a hug, but I knew better. I sidestepped, grabbing the letter opener from the desk, brandishing it like Excalibur. "Touch me," and I scream. "Neighbors hear everything in these thin walls." He froze, calculating, that predator gleam flickering. "You don't know what you're messing with, Peyton. The firm's got lawyers. Connections. Walk away now, and we forget this." Forgetting. The luxury I'd lost. But in this breath, this beat of a heart I'd reclaimed, I saw the fracture. Vanessa wasn't just a side piece. She was his partner in the embezzlement, the one who'd forged Dad's accident report. Twist 1, served cold. "Vanessa's pregnant." I lied, watching his flinch confirm it. "And she told me everything. Your little side hustle ends tonight." The standoff stretched, tension coiling like a spring. He cracked first, slumping back, voice dropping to a wheedle. "Okay, fine. It got out of hand. Your mom, she needed the money, pay. After your dad. Look, we can fix this. Marry me for real. I'll cut you in." Marry him. The hook I'd swallowed once. I laughed, the sound echoing off the marble counters. "No, Derek. This time, I bury you." I hit send on the email chain, to my lawyer cousin in Milwaukee, to the DA's tip line, to every journalist who'd ever covered white-collar scum in the Trib attachments, docs, photos, a voice memo I'd recorded in the car, spilling the whole rotten tale. His empire, crumbling in megabytes. But vengeance is a double-edged blade, and as sirens wailed in the distance, neighbors, or my trap springing, I felt the first crack in my armor. Mom's sobs from earlier, raw and real. Had she been a victim too, groomed by grief? The elevator dinged, cops spilling out, and Derek's cuffs clicked like karma's applause. Yet as they hauled him away, his eyes locked on mine. Not hate, but pity. "You're just like her, Peyton. Chasing ghosts." Her, Mom, or the version of me that died compliant. The condo emptied, leaving me alone with the ghosts, the lake's waves crashing like unanswered questions. Dawn broke gray and unforgiving, and I drove home, the weight of what I'd unleashed settling like fog. Round 1 to me. But the war? Just beginning. The fallout hit like a Chicago winter, swift, brutal, and bone-deep. By noon the next day, my phone was a war zone of notifications, reporters sniffing for quotes, Mom's frantic voicemails escalating from apology to hysteria. "Peyton, pick up. The police were here. They took my laptop." I let it ring, nursing black coffee in a dive diner off Michigan Avenue, the kind with sticky booze and waitresses who called you Han without eye contact. The Trib's online edition screamed the headline. "Investment heir arrested in embezzlement probe. Fiancé's tip sparks rate." Anonymous source, my ass. I'd gone full scorched earth, leaking to every outlet with a pulse. Derek's mugshot stared back, that chiseled jaw slack with shock. Vanessa's name dragged into the light as co-conspirator. Pregnant or not, she'd be trading Louboutins for orange jumpsuits. Schadenfreude tasted sweet, but it curdled fast, because in the fine print, Mom's name flickered. Person of interest in related fraud. I shouldn't have cared. In my first life, she'd buried me without a backward glance. But this Peyton, the one reborn in sweat and screams, had cracks. Dad's old toolbox in the garage, rusted shut with memories. Him teaching me to hammer nails straight, his calloused hands steady where Mom's fluttered. The accident on the site, ladder slipping from a sabotaged scaffold, Derek's mentor's doing, but Mom had cashed the insurance check without a peep, funneling it into the girl's future. My future, sold for stability. Still, as I stared at the diner's rain-streaked window, watching yuppies hustle past with their lattes and lies, I felt the pull. Not forgiveness, fuck that, but closure. I had to see her shatter completely before I walked away clean. Home was a circus by the time I pulled up, squad cars idling curbside, neighbors rubbernecking from their minivans like it was a Blackhawks tailgate gone wrong. Mom met me at the door, disheveled in yoga pants and a cardigan that screamed, desperate housewife, her eyes red-rimmed and makeup-free for the first time since the 90s. Peyton, thank God. She lunged for a hug, but I sidestepped, the letter opener's ghost still sharp in my palm. Inside, I said, voice flat. The living room was ransacked, drawers yanked, files strewn like confetti from hell. She collapsed onto the couch, babbling. They think I knew. About the LLCs, the transfers. Derek said it was all above board. That it was for you, for us, for me. I snarled, kicking a stack of papers that fluttered like dying birds. You mean the part where he kills me to seal the deal? Spare me the gaslighting, Mom. I lived it. Her head snapped up, confusion warring with fear. Lived it. What are you? I knelt then, grabbing her wrists. Not gentle, but not cruel, locking eyes. Listen close, because this is the part where you decide if you're monster or Mark. 3 years from now, in that condo Derek and I buy with your blessing, he smothers me. Pillow over the face, blames it on my depression. You testify, Mom. You cry on CNN, call it suicide. And the land? Sold to developers for millions. Your cut buys that lake house in Wisconsin you always wanted. The words hung, heavy as lead, and for a beat, she just stared, processing or plotting. Then the dam broke, sobs racking her frame, not the performative kind, but guttural, the kind that hollows you out. No, God, no. I would never, you did. I cut in, releasing her, standing tall. But here's the mercy. This time, you get to choose different. We talked, or rather, I monologued, pacing the room like a DA in a Lifetime movie, laying out the timeline I'd pieced from Death's vantage. Dad's sabotage, Derek's grooming, Vanessa's forged docs. Mom interjected in gasps, filling gaps with her side. The loneliness after Dad, Derek's charm offensive at the country club, the forged emails making her look complicit. He isolated me, Pay. Said you'd never understand, that you were too wild. Like your father. Wild. Code for not bending to the script. By dusk, the cops returned for her statement, and I watched from the porch as she spilled. Names, dates, the whole sordid ledger. They cuffed her? No, not yet. She was the grieving widow turned unwitting pawn, her tears buying sympathy. But the damage was done. Her social circle would eviscerate her, the PDA whispers turning to outright exile. As the cruiser pulled away, she turned to me, voice small. What now? For us. I shrugged, rain starting to spit. You figure out who you are without the lies. Me? I'm done playing house. Freedom tasted like exhaust and possibility as I hit the road south. No destination, just the hum of I-94 under my tires. First stop, Milwaukee, to crash with cousin Riley, the lawyer who'd get a fat retainer for the civil suit I'd file against Hale Investments. En route, I ditched the burner phone, upgraded to a sleek Samsung with a new number, Peyton 2.0, untraceable. Riley's loft overlooked the harbor, all exposed brick and craft IPAs, and over takeout Thai. I briefed her. Full deposition, class action potential if more widows were fleeced. You're a ghost come back to haunt. She whistled, scrolling the docs. This could topple the firm. Good. Let it burn. But revenge is a marathon, not a sprint, and Derek's machine had teeth. 2 days in, a PI tailed me from a coffee run, subtle, but I'd learned evasion in my freelance days dodging bill collectors. I lost him in the Third Ward alleys, then doubled back to snap his plates. Hired gun, courtesy of the Hales. Message received, they fought dirty. That night, Insomnia clawed me awake, the pillow's phantom weight on my chest. I dreamed of the wedding. White lace and lies, Mom beaming in the front pew as vows choked me tighter than any noose. Woke sweating, vowing escalation. Back in Chicago a week later, I went nuclear. Anonymous posts on Glassdoor, Reddits r/Chicago, and r/legal advice, seeding doubt about Hale's ethics. Threads exploded. Ex-employees piling on with tales of cooked books, quid pro quo with City Hall. By week's end, the Sun-Times ran a follow-up. Scandal widens. Firm linked to multiple suspicious deaths. Dad's name surfaced, the accident reclassified as homicide probe. Mom called, voice steadier. They're dropping charges against me, pay. But the house, it's in foreclosure. Schadenfreude again, but tempered. Sell what you can. Start over. Silence, then, I love you. I mean it this time. Click. I hung up, throat tight. Love. A weapon and a wound. The real heat came at the deposition. Hale Tower's conference room a sterile cage of mahogany and menace. Derek across the table, shackled but suited, his lawyer a shark in Armani. Ms. Reynolds, the attorney drawled, you're alleging conspiracy to murder based on dreams. Snickers from his team. I leaned in, voice ice. Call him visions. Or call the forensics on my dad's scaffold. Tampered welds, per the new report. Ring any bells, Derek? His eyes bored into me, hate veiled as sorrow. You're unhinged, pay. Always were. That's why I loved me. I finished, smiling sweet. Or loved the payout. The room tensed, Riley objecting like a pro. But the kicker, Vanessa, waddling in via video link from county, spilling under immunity. Derek's face crumbled as she detailed the pillow practice, the scripts for Mom's testimony. Checkmate. Yet as we adjourned, Derek hissed low. This isn't over. You think you're the only one with secrets. My blood chilled. What secrets? The deposition wrapped, but his words gnawed. That night, digging through old emails on Dad's salvaged hard drive, Riley's tech guy had cracked it. I found it, buried in a folder labeled Family, a scan of Mom's journal. Entries from after Dad's death. Not grief, but guilt. He knew about the affair. Threatened to leave. The latter. It was me. God forgive me. Me. Mom. She'd pushed him, or rigged it. Panic over divorce. The scandal in their Bible Belt-adjacent suburb. And Derek? He'd found out. Blackmailed her into the land deal. Then me into marriage. The betrayal layered deeper. A Russian doll of deceit. I drove to the Wisconsin line at dawn. Lake winds whipping my hair. The journal pages fluttering from the passenger seat. Confront or cut. The choice gnawed, controversial as hell. Expose her, and I orphan myself twice over. Shield her, and I become the enabler. America's gospel, justice or mercy? Fuck if I knew. But as the sun crested, gilding the waves, I torched the pages, ashes scattering like absolution denied. Round 2 mine. But the ghosts? They multiplied. Burning those pages didn't exorcise the rot. It just smoked it out, forcing me to breathe the fumes. Back in Milwaukee, I threw myself into the suit like a lifeline. Depositions, motions, late nights with Riley dissecting every comma in the contracts. Hale Investments hemorrhaged clients, stock dipping like a bad acid trip, but Derek's family lawyered up harder, countersuing for defamation, claiming I was a jilted stalker, high on revenge porn. The tabloids ate it up. Heiress's daughter or femme fatale. The Peyton puzzle. Paparazzi swarmed my cousin's stoop, flashes popping like gunfire, turning every grocery run into a gauntlet. I dyed my hair black, traded jeans for hoodies, became a shadow in my own story. But shadows have edges, and mine was fraying. Mom went radio silent for weeks. Then the letter arrived. Handwritten, postmarked Naperville. The return address a motel off I-90. Peyton. It began, script shaky as her resolve. I won't beg. What I did to your father. It haunts me more than you know. Derek found the journal months ago, used it to bind me tighter. But that's no excuse. If you expose me, do it. I deserve the cell. Just know, I never wanted you hurt. Not you. Enclosed, a check for $50,000, her life's savings scraped from the foreclosure scraps. I stared at it in Riley's kitchen, the ink blurring under tears I hadn't earned. Mercy? Or manipulation redux? I cashed it anyway, practicality over piety, and wired half to a PI firm for deeper digs on Mom's accident details. Controversial choice. Arming the enemy to verify the blade. The PI's report landed like a gut punch. Witness statements from the site, buried under NDAs, painting Mom not as killer, but coerced. Derek's mentor had planted the sabotage idea during a consult, preying on her desperation to keep the family intact. She'd confessed to a priest, absolved in whispers, but the guilt festered, making her ripe for Derek's harvest. No smoking gun, just shades of gray in a black and white world. I burned the report too, but not before forwarding redacted bits to the DA, enough to bury the mentor, not her. Call it selective justice, the kind that keeps you up at night, debating morality over microwave burritos. Meanwhile, the suit escalated to discovery hell. Derek's deposition was a masterclass in controlled chaos. Him in a tailored straitjacket of denial, me across the table, channeling every ounce of reborn fury. "Tell me about the pillow, Derek," I said, casual as coffee, Riley sliding over the lab report from the cabin linens, fibers matching the one from my suicide. His lawyer objected, sustained, but the seed was planted. Vanessa testified next, belly swollen, voice cracking over Zoom. "He said you'd back out of the marriage anyway. That it was cleaner this way. Cleaner. For a payout north of 8 figures, the land rezoned for luxury condos." The room smelled of stale Starbucks and simmering rage. I wanted to lunge, throttle the truth from his throat, but Riley's hand on my knee anchored me. "Not yet," she mouthed. "Yet came sooner than planned." That night, post-depot, a black SUV tailed me from the courthouse. Hail muscle, no doubt. I floored it through Milwaukee's grid, lights blurring, heart sinking to the engine's roar. Lost them at a red light. Ducking into an alley where I hot-wired a beater from my old design days, skills from Dad's garage, ironic lifeline. Crashed at a flea bag off the interstate, paying cash, gunning for the border. Not Canada, too cliché, but deeper into the heartland, where roots run shallow and secrets sink easy. Landed in Madison, UW turf, renting a studio under Elena Voss, forging docs with Riley's underground contacts. New gig, graphic design for indie bands, anonymous pixels for cash under the table. Life paired to essentials, yoga at dawn, runs along the isthmus, sketching vengeance in notebooks disguised as journals. But isolation breeds ghosts. Dreams replayed the death on loop. Derek's wait, Mom's testimony footage looping on my mental screen. Woke clawing sheets, convinced the pillow was real. Called Mom one bourbon-soaked night. Voicemail her confessor. "I burned it all, Mom. The journal, the report. You're free. But so am I." No reply, but 2 days later, a package, Dad's old Nikon. Lens cracked but functional, negatives tucked inside. Photos from the site day, shadows hinting at the mentor's presence, latter propped suspicious. Evidence. Her olive branch, or bait. I developed them in a campus darkroom, prints dripping like bloodless wounds, then mailed copies to the feds. Controversial again, allying with the woman who'd birthed my hell, for the greater unravel. The twist hit midsummer, heat wave baking the lakeshore. Riley phoned, voice electric. "Hey, jackpot." Derek's cracking, singing to the prosecutor about a bigger fish. The firm's laundering for city council, kickbacks on every zoning deal. Your land? Tip of the iceberg. Corruption, Chicago style. Aldermen in pockets, developers dining at Manny's with blood money. My tip had snowballed into an avalanche. FBI raiding Hale Tower at dawn, headlines screaming Windy City wire fraud. Derek flipped for immunity, ratting out Vanessa, the mentor, even a judge. But in the plea docs, a footnote chilled me. Informant claims Reynolds' family collusion predating Hale involvement. Predating? Mom's affair? Or deeper? Dad's own shady loans to keep the business afloat, perhaps tied to the mob fringes that nibbled Chicago's edges. I drove back for the hearing, incognito in a wig and shades, back row of the federal courthouse. Derek in orange, shackled, reading from a script that damned him but spared accomplices. Mom testified too, poised now, in a navy sheath, voice steady. I was manipulated. But my daughter, she saved us. Saved. The word landed wrong. Her eyes finding mine in the crowd, pleading. Post-hearing, I cornered her in the hall, away from Mike's. Predating Mom. What didn't you tell me? Her face crumpled, confession spilling. Dad's debts to a bookie ring. Paid with favors, not her body, but intel on competitor bids. The latter? Her push. Yes, but born of terror when the bookies threatened Peyton, the daughter, as leverage. They said they'd take you if you didn't pay. Me, the original pawn. Rage and revelation collided, a storm in my chest. I died for land, but the roots ran to blood money and bad bets. Why not tell me? I hissed. Because you're my girl, she whispered, tears fresh. I thought silence protected you. Silence, the family heirloom. I walked away, not forgiving, but understanding. The controversial calculus of survival in a city that chews dreams and spits bones. Back in Madison, the suit settled. Millions in restitution, my cut seeding a foundation for construction widows. Ironic justice, honoring Dad's ghost. But peace? Elusive. Derek's warning echoed. Secrets. One night, scrolling dark web forums on a VPN. Paranoia my new normal. I found it. A thread on corporate hits. Anonymous post detailing a Gold Coast smothering. Timestamped pre my death. Not Derek's work. A rival firm. Tying off loose insta-crash hail. I'd been collateral in a bigger war, my murder outsourced. Twist upon twist, the noose tightening retroactively. Vengeance evolved. No longer personal, but systemic. I hacked together a blog, Windy Whistle. Doxing the players, tips flooding in from scared insiders. Feds followed, raids multiplying. But the cost? Paranoia peaked. I slept with a knife under the pillow, real this time. Mom reached out once more. Come home. We rebuild. Home. A word poisoned. My reply, home's where the ghosts aren't. Yet as fall leaves turned the isthmus crimson, I felt the pull. Controversial, yes. Family as anchor or chain. The war raged on. My second life a battlefield of choices sharper than any blade. Autumn in Madison whipped up like a reckoning. Winds howling off the lakes, stripping trees bare, mirroring the way my defenses peeled back layer by layer. The blog took off underground. Windy Whistle, a specter haunting boardrooms from the Loop to D.C. Tips pouring in like contraband. Emails chains, offshore accounts. Even a video of an alderman pocketing bribes at a Bears tailgate. I moderated from coffee shops with Tor, alias Shadow Pay, doling out redacted bombshells to journalists who owed Riley favors. The feds loved it. Unofficial, deniable, but the heat followed. IPs traced, threats in my inbox from burner emails. Stop or sleep with the fishes. Cliché, but the attached photo, me jogging at dawn, made it real. I moved twice in a month, from studio to sublet to a basement crash pad near the Capitol. Paranoia, my constant companion. Mom's overtures escalated too, letters evolving from apologies to blueprints. Sold the last of the silver. Bought a cottage up north. Room for you if. The conditional that had chained us both. I visited once, unannounced, the Wisconsin woods a quilt of rust and gold, her cabin a far cry from the McMansion mirage. She looked smaller, silver threading her hair unchecked, stirring chili on a wood stove like a pioneer woman reborn. Peyton. No hug, just the name, heavy with unsaid. We sat on the porch, rockers creaking, like a silver slash below. The book's on you now, I said, sliding a USB of the blog archives. Read it. All of it. Her hands trembled taking it. Eyes searching mine for absolution I couldn't give. I pushed him pay. Your dad. But the bookies, they had photos. Of you, schoolgirl braids, saying they'd. She trailed off, the implication a knife twist, peddled, or worse. I chose wrong. Every time. Confession's catharsis, but mine? I stood, wind tugging my coat. Choices define us, Mom. Make better ones. Drove away with the cabin shrinking in the rear view. A controversial truce. Not reconciliation, but reconnaissance. She'd atone by leaking from the shadows. Her network of country club widows a gold mine for tips. Back in the fray, the high-stakes play. Infiltrating a Hale Gala, black-tie fundraiser for fallen officers. Irony thick as the shrimp cocktail. Riley scored me an invite via a plant, me in a thrift store gown and lace mask, hair pinned like armor. The venue, Palmer House, chandeliers dripping opulence over the rot. I circulated, champagne flute a prop, eavesdropping on whispers. Derek's rotting, but the old man's untouchable. The old man, Hiram Hale, patriarch, silver fox with a Senate Rolodex. My target. Cornered him by the dessert tray, voice husky behind the mask. Heard your boy's mistake cost you the Loop deal. His eyes narrowed, calculating. And you are. Someone who knows about the council slush fund. Came in wiring, 2023. Bluff half true. From a tip. His flinch confirmed the rest. Careful, miss. Secrets kill. I smiled, slipping him a card. Burner number. Call for terms. Hook set. He bit that night. Voicemail terse. Midnight. The Drake. Room 1408. The meat was a powder keg. Penthouse suite. City lights sprawling like a conquered kingdom. Hiram in silk robe over paunch, scotch in hand. No muscle. Arrogance his shield. I entered bold. Mask off. Green eyes locking his. Peyton Reynolds. Ring any bells. Recognition dawned slow, then venom. The ghost girl. Come to gloat. To negotiate. Laid out terms. Full confession on the laundering, immunity for the widow's fund, my silence on his retirement slush. He laughed, pouring me a glass. Poisoned? Nah. Too theatrical, tasted fine. You're in over your head, girl. This city's built on bones like your daddy's. Daddy's. He knew. The pivot. Tell me about the bookies. Surprise flickered. He savored it, monologuing like a Bond villain. Your old man owed Gino Moretti's crew. Latter was a message. Your ma paid up, then Derek paid more, folding it into our game. Our game. The web widened. Hail entangled with the mob fringes, construction bids rigged, my family's fall engineered from the start. Derek went rogue on you, Hiram sneered. The pillow? Amateur hour. Meant to scare, not kill. But hey, opportunities. Rogue. The twist gutted me. Derek's murder not just greed, but panic. Off script to cover his tracks. Hiram's play. Pressure me into silence via marriage, land as leverage. When I dug, he outsourced the hit to a cleaner, botched as smothering. Collateral evolution. Join or die. Hiram offered, hand extended. I took it. Not alliance, but the glass, dumping the scotch in his lap, knee to groin following. He wheezed, summoning security via panic button, but I was out the fire exit, heart thundering down service stairs. Adrenaline crash hit in the alley, vomiting behind dumpsters, the city's underbelly mocking my hubris. Controversial move, confronting the dawn without backup. But the recording on my phone, hidden in cleavage, captured it all. Hiram's gloat gold for the feds. Riley flipped out when I delivered the file. You're insane. He's connected. Rico bait, but blowback's biblical. She was right. Next dawn, the Drake raided, Hiram in cuffs, empire quaking. But blowback, a drive-by at my basement. Bricks through windows, stop scrawled in red. I bolted, heading north to Mom's cabin, pounding rain masking my tears. She took me in without question, shotgun by the door, stew simmering. We in this together, she said, voice steel I'd never heard. Mother-daughter war council, her spilling widow gossip, Moretti's weak spots, a crooked cop on payroll, me funneling to the blog. Tips surged, coordinates for a mob stash house, wired to ATF. Raids followed, headlines exploding, Mafia mobile nexus cracked in Windy City sweep. Yet the personal toll mounted. Nightmares blended timelines. Derek's hands morphing to Hiram's, Mom's face in the jury box. I confronted her over coffee one frostbitten morning. The bookies' photos, did they touch me? Her denial fierce. Never. Threats only. I killed for that. Killed. The word hung, our shared stain. Controversial absolution. I hugged her then. First in years, the dam breaking mutual. Not forgiveness, but forward. Family as flawed fortress. The climax brewed in Chicago, winter gripping like a vice. Moretti's crew, cornered, lashed out. A car bomb at Riley's office. No fatalities but close. My fault. Guilt propelled me south. Anonymous tip to feds on the final sting. A gala at the shed. Moretti hosting charity for at-risk youth. Irony. Preying on the vulnerable, like they preyed on me. Infiltrated as catering staff. Apron over bulletproof vest. Riley's insistence. I spiked the punch with laxatives. Petty, but chaos cover. As suits retched in bathrooms, feds swarmed. Moretti cuffed mid-toast. In the melee, I faced him. Wiry Italian in a pinky ring, eyes like coals. You the blogger bitch. Spit flew. For every bone you broke, I whispered. Karma's collecting. No punch. Cameras rolled, his rage my evidence. But the true high wire, Derek's trial, federal court a theater of the damned. I testified last, stand a pulpit for the damned. He didn't just kill me, I said, voice echoing. He erased me, for profit, for power. Jury gasped at the prophecy. My pre-death warnings and emails, uncanny now. Derek cracked on the stand. Tears for the cameras. She was unstable. The marriage. It was her idea. Lie. I countered with the cabin audio, his whispers damning. Verdict. Guilty, life without. As marshals dragged him, our eyes met. His broken, mine forged. You win, Pay, he mouthed. Victory, Pyrrhic. Post-trial, the dust settled uneasy. Hail dissolved, restitution flowed. My foundation thrived, scholarships for trades kids, ladders built safe. Mom and I co-chaired, awkward at first, then symbiotic, her polish my fire. But the ghosts lingered, whispers of what-ifs. One night, cabin porch under stars, she asked, marry again? Someday. I laughed, bourbon warm. Maybe, but this time I choose. Choice, the ultimate revenge. Yet tension simmered, unresolved, threads tugging. A letter from prison, Derek's scrawl. Not over. Hiram's boy has your number. Hiram's son, the overlooked heir, lurking in the wings. The cycle threatened renewal, vengeance eternal. I burned the letter, but sleep evaded, the second chance feeling fragile as frost. Spring thawed the heartland slow, like a reluctant confession, but by May, Madison's cherry blossoms mocked the scars with their fragile pink. The foundation boomed, Reynolds Riser grants, named for Dad, no irony lost. Funding apprenticeships from Milwaukee to the Quad Cities, hammers in hands that once held nothing but hustles. Mom ran the admin side from the cottage, her emails crisp with redemption's edge, our calls a tightrope of civility laced with landmines. Proud of you, Pay, she'd say, and I'd mutter likewise, both knowing the words were half men's on a ripped seam. Riley pushed for therapy, group sessions for whistleblower trauma, but I dodged, sketching instead. Dark comics of suited skeletons dancing on graves, self-published under Peyton Voss. Catharsis in panels, the blog dormant but watchful. The Hale heir's shadow lengthened though. Junior, they called him. Ethan Hale, trust fund ghost, 28 and sharper than his old man's blade. No arrests, no splash, but Riley's alerts pinged. Shell companies reforming under Eagle Holdings, sniffing at the very plots my suit had reclaimed. He reached out subtle. A donation to the foundation, anonymous at first, then a card. Admire your grit. Coffee. Flirt or faint. Controversial curiosity pulled me to the meet, a lakeside cafe in Door County, waves lapping like lies. Ethan was anti-Derek. Lean, bookish, glasses perched on a nose that screamed Ivy rather than frat. Not here to avenge, he started, latte steaming. Dad was poison. Derek? Worse. But you're rewriting the rules. Charm offensive, version 2.0. I probed. And your holdings? Circling the debt. He leaned in, eyes earnest. Rezoning for affordable. Your grants inspired. Liar lure. We talked hours. Art, architecture, the city's corrupt veins, him admitting complicity. New whispers, did nothing. Cowardice kills too. Echo of my own ghosts. I left with his number, no promises, but the seed planted. Ally or Achilles heel. Back home, cottage now home, in uneasy truce. Mom grilled over pot roast. Another Hale? Peyton, they're vipers. Viper with vision, maybe. Ethan checked out. Clean record, philanthropy real, his reform pitch aligning with my risers. Dates followed. Hikes in Peninsula State Park. Debates over craft brews. Him peeling layers without the grab. You're not afraid? He asked once, hand brushing mine on a trail. Of men like me? I met his gaze, wind tousling. Afraid of blindness. Not the beasts. Trust built tentative, controversial as hell. Dating the enemy's echo. But in this second spin, I scripted the terms. No rings, no rushes, just reconnaissance in romance. The powder keg reignited midsummer. Heat dome baking the Midwest into madness. A tip on the blog's dark mirror. Eagle Holdings bidding on a South Side plot. My old family land. Rezone post-scandal for community housing. But whispers of kickbacks, Moretti remnants greasing palms. Ethan denied, vehement over video, not me. Board rogue, doubt crept, venom old. I dug solo, nights in the cottage basement, screens glowing like fever dreams. Found it. Emails from Ethan's assistant to a shell, carbon copied to a Moretti lieutenant. Betrayal 3.0. Rage boiled, but smarter now, I leaked to the feds, anonymous, then confronted him at his harborside loft, storm raging outside. He opened the door shirtless, towel drying post-swim, surprise melting to wariness. Hey, what's... I shoved the printouts into his chest, voice thunder. You're reform? More smoke. You're Derek with a conscience upgrade. He scanned, face ashen, dropping the towel, vulnerable or calculated. It's not. God, pay, the board's hijacked. I inherited the snakes. Plea rang half true. His eyes, not predatory, but panicked. The controversial crux, believe and risk the cycle, expose and torch the tentative good. Lightning cracked, illuminating his plea. Help me gut it. From inside. Partnership, not prison. I hesitated, ghosts howling, Derek's whispers, Mom's push, then nodded. One slip, Ethan, and I end you. Alliance forged in storm, the loft our war room. Him spilling board secrets, me funneling to Riley's network. Raids followed, Eagle purged, the plot secured for risers, affordable homes, my design. But the personal cyclone spun wilder. Mom's health dipped, stress ulcers from the trials, docs said, but we knew. Ghosts feasting. Hospital in Green Bay, sterile white as slap, her frail in the bed, for dripping like tears. Pay, she rasped, hand cold in mine. The marriage question. I pushed because I lost mine. To fear. Confessions coda. I stroked her hair, silver now fully claimed. You didn't lose it, Mom. You traded it. Nurses bustled, but time slowed. Stories spilled. Dad's courtship in a 70s diner, my birth as salvation, the latter's snap echoing eternal. Forgive, she whispered. Controversial grace. Working on it. She rallied. Discharged to the cottage. Our roles reversed. Me cooking, her advising on Ethan's snakes. Family, fractured but functional. The final twist uncoiled in autumn's amber, leaves carpeting the drive like warnings. Moretti's last gasp, a hit on Ethan, drive-by at his loft, bullets shattering glass as I crashed the fundraiser below. I tackled him down the hall, shards biting our skin, sirens wailing symphony. In the ER, stitches side by side, he gripped my hand. You saved me. Echo of my own rebirth. Cops hauled the shooter, low-level Geno thug, singing for leniency. Hale Jr. next on the list. For flipping. Ethan's clean. The hit, payback for the purges. We laughed through painkillers, high on survival. Marry me, he joked. Hell no, I shot back. But stick around. Mom met him over Thanksgiving turkey, wary eyes softening to approval. Not a viper. A fox maybe. Laughter, real, filling the cabin. First feast without specters. The foundation gala followed. Chicago's skyline twinkling forgiveness. Me in red. Not the burned dress. But a power sheath. Ethan at my side. No labels. Speeches flowed. Risers' stories. Hammers raised. Dad's legacy reclaimed. Backstage, Mom pulled me aside. When's it your turn? For real. I smiled, the old hook dulled. It already did, Mom. Every day since I woke up. But the coda carried teeth. Prison mail again. Derek's final play. Ethan's the cleaner. Knew all along. Poison pen, or truth. I confronted, loft dim with doubt. The hit. He paled, then broke, staged. To bind you closer. Dad's last order, before the raid. Betrayal's hydra head, sprouting anew. Rage crested, but I paused. Controversial calculus. Kill the messenger, or co-opt. You're out, I said, voice steel. But the purges? We finish. Then you vanish. He nodded, broken, packing by dawn. I leaked his complicity, soft, to allies. Ethan exiled to Vancouver, a ghost of his own making. Karma's wheel turned full. Derek's appeal denied. Solitary his eternity. Mom thrived, cottage a hub for widows' circles. Me? Solo in Madison, grants expanding, comics charting the chaos, second life unbound. No husband, no chains. Vengeance evolved to vigilance. The city tamed but watchful. Ghosts quieted, not gone. Whispers in wind. Reminders. Survive. Choose fierce. In the mirror, Peyton stared back. Scarred, sharp, alive. The freeze thawed. The story, mine to rewrite. Epilogue hook. A year on, birthday dawn. Alarm at 7 a.m. Same as rebirth. But this time, coffee brews steady. Mom's voice on speaker. Love you, kid. I smile real. Outside, cherry blossoms bud. Fragile, fierce. Second chances, earned in blood and bold. And if another pillow looms, I'll swing first.